Welcome to Beirut for an exclusive interview with the governor of the Central Bank of Lebanon, Mr. Riad Salamé. Thank you very much for having accepted this interview. On the 17th of October 2019 marked the beginning of an unprecedented revolt of the population against the political leaders, which will certainly be a page in the history of the land of the sea. There's a political crisis, an institutional crisis, existential, economic, financial and social crisis. The Lebanese today are facing a new reality, the consequences of which are still unknown. The Lebanese banks are short of currencies, transfers abroad are blocked. In past history, including the civil war between 1975 and 1990, nobody experienced such a situation. Mr. Governor, how did we get into this situation?
Well, Lebanon has experienced a number of episodes with negative consequences on the economy, but also on the financial sector. Ever since the beginning of the war in Syria in 2011, Lebanon has hosted 1.5 million Syrian refugees. It was very costly for this small country. The balance of payment turned into negative territory, and the estimated cost, according to the World Bank, the estimated cost of these refugees was as high as $18 billion over that period. Now, there's also been a change in the political climate in the region, and sanctions were imposed upon a number of countries and organizations, and Lebanon found itself in the midst of all this, even though Lebanon in and of itself was not the subject of sanctions. And then there was the resignation of the Prime Minister in November 2017. Yes, Prime Minister Hariri, who fled to Saudi Arabia, and that was followed by a flight of capitals to Saudi Arabia, or at least outside Lebanon, and then interest rates started flaring up again. And all this happened in a country that was already vulnerable because of its recurring and deepening of budget deficit in 2017 because of the rise in wages in the public sector. But then there were also internal political conflicts, as a result of which the country for many months and in many years found itself without a president or without a government. And in 2018, it took us a long time to form a government, and so resolutions in support of Lebanon that were enacted in Paris at the Cedar Conference the year before could not be implemented. The rating agencies downgraded the country, and all this happened in a context where there were a number of negative reports that occurred almost on a daily basis. We kept getting these negative reports on the country, the economy, the currency, the banks, so much so that we have reason to believe there was some kind of conspiracy which had been there all along. So all this, of course, sapped confidence, and when banks closed after 17 October 2019, well, depositors lost a significant part of their trust in the banks, and we found ourselves with a cash economy, with people holding as much as 10% of the money supply of the cash deposits were withdrawn from the banks. The people kept this cash at home or in shops or whatnot, and that, of course, disrupted the activity of banks.
Why rumors? Why are there so many negative rumors about the banking system?
Well, there's an easy way to destabilize the country for those who had a political interest in doing so. One thing to do is to destabilize the financial sector. since they were not able to destabilize the Lebanese pound, well then rumors came out every week about this or that bank. Now, we haven't got any precise intelligence about this, but looking at this closely, you might wonder why there is such an insistence on trying to destabilize the system in Lebanon. There has to be something behind it.
One important question concerns depositors. Is there a risk for deposits in foreign currencies?
Well, the central bank after 17 October stated that we will not cause any bank to go bankrupt in Lebanon. And indeed, we opened up our windows to private banks to offer cash both in hard currency and in the Lebanese pound. No, so long as a bank doesn't go bankrupt, the depositors know that their deposits will be safe in the original currency.
Will there be a haircut or not?
We at the central bank are not in favor of a haircut. And should there be a haircut, which will not be the case, this would require the passing of an act of parliament. But that would turn out to be anti-constitutional because the Lebanese constitution provides for the preservation of private property.
So you're against such a law?
Yes, I am.
Your directive of the 5th of December, which changes interest rates in Lebanese pounds, it doesn't represent a haircut on the black market?
Well, the central bank lowered interest rates and they capped them at 5% for dollars and 8.5% in Lebanese pounds. Since 85% of deposits are short-term deposits, as a result, the renewal of these deposits is compensated to the tune of the interest rate for each currency. Now, half the deposits are long-term deposits, and there legally you're not allowed to change the interest rate, but nothing prevents us from changing the modalities of interest payment. But we didn't change anything on the capital. This with a view to preserve the commitments of banks vis-à-vis their customers regarding their expected income from their deposits. Moreover, there's been no exchange control, so even if you cash in your money in Lebanese pounds, nothing prevents you from converting this into hard currencies immediately at the bank at the official rate, because the banks maintain the official rate.
And do they accept?
Yes, they do.
Regarding the deposits, is there a list of conversions for changing these deposits in foreign currencies?
Well, the lower rate applies to currency exchanges, but currency exchanges cannot conduct para-bank operations. They just exchange bank notes, but they do not hold accounts with the central bank. And there was an increased demand because shopkeepers, traders needed to purchase currencies, dollar notes, to pay for their imports. Now, this does not reflect the policy of the central bank, or indeed our determination to maintain a stable price for the Lebanese pound, because we are trying to serve here the interests of society at large.
From the beginning of the crisis, the banks imposed foreign exchange controls. Why didn't this initiative come from you or from the government?
Well, it is not in the prerogatives of the central bank to impose an exchange control, and the government had resigned, and so we had to operate pragmatically, realistically, so as to protect banks and thereby all depositors, rather than meet the concerns of depositors that already have accounts abroad and can transfer the money quickly, and thereby put other depositors in difficulty. So we verbally called upon the banks to use that measure, and then we prepared a directive that needs to be, of course, approved by the government. Now, we are waiting for this approval because the government has just been formed.
Do you support these measures, especially the Lebanese are cut off from the international financial system today?
Well, we had no choice, really. We had to adopt a system which, by the way, was adopted in all countries that found themselves in similar crises, because otherwise the risk is that the entire country, the entire financial system might be destabilized. But of course, these are temporary measures, and we certainly hope that we will be able to resume work normally this year in 2020. Now, this will depend on the political climate, not so much in Lebanon, but in the region at large, because this will have an influence on capital movements around the region.
From the 17th to the 31st of October 2019, $2.6 billion were transferred abroad. At what stage is the investigation you have initiated, and will it succeed?
Well, the investigation is serious. It is well underway. You have to know that overseas transfers are perfectly allowed in Lebanon, but we are looking at this from an ethical viewpoint. If there were some political personalities who conducted transfers abroad, we may have here a case of abuse of power if these personalities used their influence to pressure the banks into conducting these transfers. No, this is a serious investigation. We will get to the bottom of this. $2.6 billion were transferred outside the country, but that included $1.6 billion that were in trust accounts from foreign banks. So the money had come from abroad originally. But you're left with $1 billion that came out of resident accounts, Lebanese residents. Now, that's what we're looking into, as provided by law. We want to see who were these people.
Very briefly, are we at the end of the tunnel?
Well, I believe that the regional political situation is improving. If we do get the support from the international community and from the Arab community, things will move forward. The Lebanese hold huge amounts of cash at home. With that money, plus international aid and the money that will be brought back into the banking system, that should start again. The system should start again. Now, the big achievement is that we were able to preserve the system.
Thank you for having been our guest on France 24.